Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Behind the Screens, your favorite gaming and esports talk show here at Radio UTD. My name is Hector.
I'm Hitarth.
And I'm Adi.
And we're back. This week, we got actually two recaps of one of our older topics that we were talking about, basically conferences from game developers. But the first one's going to be Xbox. Then we're going to transition over to PlayStation's State of Play. And then we might talk a little bit more about Nintendo afterwards, even though I know we've talked plenty on Nintendo stuff.
We're still disappointed, but moving on.
So what you're about to listen is Hector's excuse to rant more.
Yes, exactly. But starting things off, Xbox, they did have their showcase on the 23rd. So a while back, it was actually right after we kind of recorded our show. So it was like, well, this is kind of unfortunate timing. But some big titles unveiled, and also a lot of follow-up gameplay and footage of other games that we've known about previously.
Yeah, you want to take a look at Watch Dogs Legion first?
Yeah.
Because, I believe this was the trailer that finally gave it an announcement date, being October 29th.
Well, actually, it was announced October 29th on the... Wait, no. You're right.
I think it was. I think this was the first time it was announced.
I think you're right.
I think this is the first time they've given us a definitive date.
Well, I'm trying to think. Did they do that at the PlayStation one previously? I think they did. Because you remember we were talking about... Oh, no, they did it at the UB conference.
Oh, they did do it.
They did,
okay.
because we talked about the Far Cry, and yeah.
Okay, in that case, you're right, because I do remember talking about that. Pardon whatever I just said. They just aired the same trailer, but let's see, what else did they talk about? I mean, we had Halo Infinite. Like,
Halo Infinite.
If we're gonna talk about like the main selling thing of Xbox, they had to show Halo Infinite, right?
Yeah, it looked good. I think. I mean, it was a very lengthy gameplay trailer. It was about 9 minutes long, and they also got some good things in there. Just like obviously, fans knew that this was coming, but now that we're getting confirmation as far as around when it's coming being this holiday, and then also the availability on PC as well, that kind of levels things out and makes a lot of people kind of understand where their place is at as far as what they might want to pick up this holiday season as far as consoles and such.
Well, it is worth noting that Halo is slated for holiday 2020 holiday of this year, and looking at the gameplay footage, it does look good, but it still looks a little rough around the edges visually, if you ask me, for a next generation title.
I think it looks very much like previous gen assets HDified. Like they did, it seemed like it was not made for the next gen, if that makes sense.
No, it looked like they made it just compatible with the next gen, but they had to make it compatible with the Xbox One and for PC as well.
Yeah, that's true.
PC doesn't really matter.
Xbox One specifically, yeah. They had to make it compatible to that, so of course they had to make it look... It basically looks like an Xbox One game, and then you can just play it on the Series X. But they might as well just have it come out for the X as well, because people are going to get that, and probably get it on the X instead anyways.
Yeah, I guess at least from our point of view, none of us really own Xbox. But I think like as a PC gamer, I don't really justify anything on this list that we're going to be talking about as like something to go out there and buy an Xbox if you are looking for like between PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. I don't know. For me, Halo last year got ported onto PC for the first time. It did well. They're just going to bring it back this year. And I think that was pretty much the last game that they didn't have on PC, and now it's on PC.
Yeah, they seem to be going more like also for the PC market by making it all their games like accessible on PC, because I think one thing that they did announce is every single game that's on here, I don't think it's available on PC, but will be available on the Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah, which for those of you that may not know what Game Pass is, basically Xbox's version of a subscription similar to Netflix, where you pay a flat rate every month and you get complete access to all of the games on there, whether that be some smaller indie games or basically any published Microsoft game that they have out, similar Halo, State of Decay, which got a follow-up today, or rather when that showcase happened. Games like that are on there, and it's a pretty low cost for what you get, but that's always great that they're adding new stuff to that.
It's also that when you get it for your first month, I think you can get it for just $1 if it's a new account.
I think we've talked about it previously, but it's a heck of a deal.
Yeah, and then you obviously know that they're gonna pick up so many more subscriptions just with the release of like Halo Infinite.
Oh yeah.
And just like looking at the gameplay, like it does look decent. Like I don't see anything like stand out saying like I have to drop everything I'm doing and like go play this game right now. That might be due to my like inexperience with Halo, but like as far as first person shooters go, nothing like astounded me,
Yeah, like nothing crazy really happened. It was just some like gameplay fighting enemies here and there. And I think it looks good, but definitely not something that I'd just be out of my way for. But to be fair, still not a Halo fan. So
yeah,
like, I don't really play the games.
The only thing I found curious was the addition of a map, because as far as I'm aware, Halo's like mostly a campaign sort of thing, like outside of multiplayer. So to have like an actual map where you can like pull up and see objectives that's not a mini map seems a little bit strange to me.
Yeah, that's not very Halo. Maybe, I don't know. Like I'm in the same boat as Hitarth. I've played it before, but I never really owned an Xbox as a young kid. So I think a lot of the Halo like fans traditionally played when they were younger, and they've kind of just like fanboyed it since they were younger. And I think
yeah,
it's harder to get in as someone that hasn't played it for a while, because like I tried it. I never owned Halo, but I've played it before when I was younger. I tried it again recently last year when they
and you loved it.
And I hated it. I actually did not like it at all. I think it's hard to explain. The time to kill for me was insanely slow. So like it would take like more than a full magazine hitting almost every bullet into them for it to kill them, which I just didn't like the flow of. Like I didn't think it felt good to me personally, but
Hector would hate Sekiro, man. For what he just described.
Yeah, but
this is like
gameplay
made
style
for
is first-person
FPS.
shooter.
Yeah. So
I mean, you also have to look at like the type of first-person shooter games like you grew up with, because you grew up with like CS:GO, and like the time to kill in that like half a second.
Yeah, you're so used to like stuff that can just one shot you or like 2 or 3 shot you.
I mean,
versus...
yeah, I guess.
Like I'm guessing that if I played it, I probably wouldn't mind, because like my experiences with like first-person shooters was stuff like Borderlands, which is like an RPG, but stuff takes like more than a little bit to kill, and I'm like,
I just
that's
think
fine.
it doesn't fit that well for a competitive FPS. I think for any FPS, it would be a good flow. Like Borderlands, I think does well. It fits that style of game. For me, at least, Halo is a kind of weird time to kill. Like I've played slow time to kills, such as like Rogue Company. We played that actually. We got the alpha key for that, and I sent it over to the boys, and we've been playing a couple games of it every now and then. And I'm not gonna lie, we kind of trashed on it in the Nintendo Direct, but to be honest, it's actually a pretty fun game.
Like, see, my thing with Rogue Company is I don't have an issue with the quality of the game or the game's existence itself. It's just, did it warrant a slot? Is like more or less what I was thinking.
But I mean, we'll talk about that later. I don't think there was really a bar to set for a slot in there based off of how short it was. So,
but if I may veer the topic back to Halo Infinite really fast, one more thing that I do find curious, and this is a Microsoft's play to get a lot more people into their system, is that Halo Infinite's multiplayer is going to be free to play.
Yep, that is very big.
Yeah, that will absolutely attract a lot of people. I'm pretty sure like whenever it comes out, we're all probably going to give it a shot, because why not?
Yeah.
And then they're going to be following more recent trends. Like it's stated that there's going to be a battle pass system, and then customization options that are completely new to Halo. So they're trying to like, I'm not going to say take it into like the next step, but more like bring it into the modern age, you know? Because Halo's always been
Yeah.
off doing its own thing for the most part, but it seems like they're making it an attempt to be like, oh hey, like Halo is like new and trendy again, and this is like what it can do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
like most big multiplayer games now have like battle passes and like
yeah.
custom outfits and gear and all that you can just like buy and all that, like cosmetics and all that.
Heck, I started a mobile game recently called Tales of Cristoria that I've been absolutely addicted to. That has a battle pass system. It's a
You
mobile
grinded
game.
it out, man.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it from both the consumer and the developer's standpoint, it's ingenious. I mean, probably the people to bring it to life were Epic with Fortnite. I think they started it really, and it transcended from there into almost every single popular game now. Because it's cheap for the consumer to get a decent amount of skins, but it also assures the developers that the people that do play free to play are super heavily swayed towards at least purchasing something that gives you a little taste of everything rather than one super expensive skin or one super expensive mission thing.
Valorant can't relate.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like Valorant is in essence exactly like that. $10 for the battle pass, pretty typical price for almost every single game, and then $100 like a $70 bundle.
They cater to both markets.
Yeah,
that way.
They cater to the market of people that love spending money on cosmetics, and then the market that maybe want to start buying a couple cosmetics because they enjoy the game, but they're not really willing to spend maybe $20 for one specific gun.
You mean non-CS:GO players?
Yeah. I mean, the thing about CS, right, is like I think it's different than those style of games, being that it's based off the Steam marketplace, and I think games in the marketplace fluctuate much heavier because like you can buy a nice looking 40-cent skin, and then you can buy like a really ugly like $50 knife in other games that would look like amazing, like flames and everything like they have in Valorant. So I mean, it's give or take, but I guess hopping back into the Xbox conference once more, there was a lot more games that they showed off, so we definitely won't touch all of them, but the typical Xbox games, Forza Motorsport got basically teased as an early development.
And you know, like keep in mind that a lot of these were just like trailers. There wasn't a lot of like gameplay accompanying any of them.
Yeah, we didn't even get a release date for that one either. The most we know, I think, is that it's gonna run at 4K, 60 FPS. So it's been optimized for the
I'm pretty sure
Series X.
that they did that for the last generation of Forza 2 because you know.
Yeah, they did.
Just because it's like optimized and like again going back to like them just showing trailers like State of Decay 3, like if you look at the State of Decay 3 trailer, it's just this like lady that's going through and then at the end she sees a zombie deer. That's State of Decay 3. That like great, it exists. Doesn't tell me anything about the game.
I don't know. I do actually value that, right? Because like think about it from this standpoint. I don't mean to compare it always back to Nintendo, but like I would have preferred seeing games like just announced and then touched on bases again later, similar to like Metroid Bayo. Yes, it gives that like sense of like when is the game gonna come out, but it is nice to see that they're like showcasing that, oh, it's in early development and it's gonna come to the next gen kind of thing. And so I think something like that works, especially for how many games they covered throughout this. But one game that kind of caught my attention as far as like the performance aspect of it is actually Ori and the Will of Wisps, and that game is supposedly going to be running at 120 FPS on the Series X.
And let me tell you something. I've 100%ed that game. I adore Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and seeing that game in 4K and 120 like frames a second, like I'm not usually a person that just like, you know, focuses on the graphics. Like if something's lower, that's fine. But I imagine that game's gonna be like, I'm not gonna say like a different experience, but far better for having like those enhanced visuals. I think it'll do it a lot of good.
Yeah,
it is a gorgeous game.
I think it's less about
pretty
the
of a game.
Go ahead.
I would say for as pretty of a game as the Ori series has been, honestly, because I've only played the first game. I have yet to actually play Will of the Wisp, but I've been meaning to. but it still looks really good.
It is
Yeah.
like I have very or I can't think of a downside to like the Will-O-the-Wisp. It's like pretty much any complaints I had with like the Blind Forest, where like fixing Will-O-the-Wisp, there's more stuff to do, more fun abilities, just outstanding game.
Yeah.
But going back to the stuff that we're talking about, for it just being mostly trailers, I feel like one of the announcements in this conference that did do it right was this game called Exomecha, which is it's a free to play game that's coming next year that looks very Titanfall-esque, and by that I mean it features giant mechs.
Yeah.
Like I look
Yeah.
at giant mechs and my brain just automatically associates it with Titanfall now. But instead of going for like the super military route, the mechs seem to mean like a variety of things. Like you can have a chopper, you can have like two giant like humanoid people, with one has a sword and one has an axe. I think one of the ones in the trailer was this scorpion looking thing. So it looks like I see a dragon mech. That one looks sick, but like all of it was shown within like with the in-game engine, and you're like playing a person, like you're running through like holding a gun.
There's someone riding a missile as well.
Yeah,
It looks hectic, but it looks so fun.
yeah, I feel like it's one of those things that it's just like, okay, yeah, we know that this is ridiculous and has like a tone of self-awareness.
Yeah.
It looks cool.
You know
like-
what game looked really interesting to me?
Which one?
And like I don't know why it kind of gave me like a Hat in Time vibe, was the Balan Wonderworld. I don't know why it gave me that vibe, but I felt just like the art style and a certain like, I think were like boss fights or whatever, that looked very Hat in Time to me.
Yeah, so Balan's Wonderworld is the 2D platformer, right?
Yes. Well, it's kind of like 2D, 3D. I don't know. It's weird. Maybe I'm wrong.
It is. It's basically 3D actually. There's like
Oh,
2D
it is
aspects
3D.
to it, but it's a 3D game.
Yeah, looking at this, it gives me, just by character design wise, I don't think of a Hat in Time, but I think of this like super old, I think it's a Sega property called Nights into Dreams.
Oh, you're thinking of the Night series.
know. Yeah, I know the Night series.
Yeah, it's an extremely like old series where it's you take control of this like purple person, and it's like this like
I think that's the best
way.
description, because
Yeah.
I vividly remember that game, getting it at GameStop for some reason when I was younger, and it looked like so intriguing, but it was so incredibly terrible.
That's a great way to put it.
Harsh words. But like looking at a game like that, like the basis of that game series' gameplay was you essentially went through these dream courses in this like 2D platform, like flying segments, and you had to go through rings, and it was strange. But like looking at the character design that like the main character of Nights into Dreams has, and then looking at this like person, like the dude in the top hat in Balan's Wonderworld, like gives me a lot of the same vibes, you know?
No, I definitely feel that. If you haven't seen or even played any of like the Knights franchise kind of games from that Sega put out, I think a better comparison for other games that we've talked about on the show, like not only have we talked about Hat in Time, but I think also it gives me a mix of Odyssey and Hat in Time vibes.
I don't get
Yeah, but-
Odyssey as much, honestly.
I remember not Odyssey, but more.
I think it's like almost like a 3D version art style. Like, I don't know why, but I just genuinely always think Hat in Time, and it's not because of like the main person on the thing having a hat, but just like the vibrancy of like the colors and everything.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, to me, from what I've seen and played, it reminds me similar to maybe Odyssey, maybe even 3D World as well, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair.
Actually, looking at this trailer, a lot of this is giving me a lot of like Sega-esque vibes, because like the character designs for the humans remind me of, this is gonna be an incredibly specific reference of a game called Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg.
Oh my god, yeah, I kind of see that.
And it's just like they're like whenever you look at Billy Hatcher, like the characters are just like these like super short people with like really wide heads, but surprisingly like,
actually looks
elaborate
spot
hands
on,
and legs.
dude. That's
And
funny.
the like enemy design, for some reason, like I'm looking at like I'm perusing the trailer while we're talking about this. Reminds me of Sonic Lost World.
Oh.
All right, on to the next game. So
All right, yeah, that's already moved on. I mean, because Billy Hatcher was a Sonic team game, so it
yeah,
does make
Yeah.
that makes sense. That game, I think we've talked. Like oddly enough, I think we've actually talked about that.
We
before on
have.
show.
Have
we
we
have
mentioned Billy
it
Hatcher?
way
Yes.
back. Yes, we have.
It was
in one of our like
you.
earlier
I don't know-
shows.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. It's probably me who brought it up.
I don't remember
that-
what it was about though.
Yeah, I don't remember the context around it, but Billy Hatcher is strange, you know? Like that's its only this reason it was a one-off.
You know what's
But moving on,
pretty strange as well?
what?
This new game
You
called
caught him.
Grounded. Out of all the games on the Xbox conference, this game sparked the most interest in me, and I've actually tried it out myself. It's called Grounded, and it's basically Honey, I Shrunk the Kids mixed with like Ark Survival Evolved is what I kind of think it is. But it's like a co-op survival where you're basically in a lawn, like just a normal like front lawn, and you're like fighting spiders and ants and stuff like that. And it actually already launched. I've tried it out, and
I was gonna say, if you hate bugs or have arachnophobia,
Yes.
this is not the game for you.
yeah, not really.
Giant spiders.
You know what's funny,
that's
though?
all I need to say.
They have an arachnophobia filter on it where
Yes,
you
they
can
do.
dumb down the spiders into
Don't
like
tell me
little
about that.
balls.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know
really
that.
funny. The spiders are actually like, I mean, it's not like frightening, but if you do have arachnophobia, it's definitely like detailed enough
Or just
to
like
scare
a
you.
fear of insects. Yeah, I will say though, I like because the survival genre has been done to death, right? I do like the idea of this like perspective shift though. Like it's
I
a
love
creative
it.
concept to me.
I think it's creative. I tried it out, like I said. I know Audie was talking about getting Game Pass like just for Halo, but I actually picked Game Pass back up for this game. Tried it out. It was fun. It was really fun while I played it. The only issue that I see as of right now, and I know it's super early in development, is there's just not really any story or content for it, to be honest. I played about 2 hours of it thus far, and it was super fun while I played it, but then I just didn't know what to do, if that makes sense.
I was
like
saying, the trailer has hints that to like there are secrets that you're trying to unveil and all that, and then surviving
Yeah.
the yard.
I mean,
but, like,
but the survival aspect is not hard at all. Like, I mean, yes, I'm playing on like medium, but given that like that's like the default. It's not like I was playing like super easy or anything. And on top of that, just in general, like the only big boss that targets you are spiders. And on top of that, you can just sleep. It's just like Minecraft. Like nothing in Minecraft is like super difficult. So just imagine Minecraft without going to the end or the nether. It's basically how like difficult the enemies are. So maybe you die like the first night, but other than that, like you have a base.
I
So
can't believe Hector just dunked on anyone who's bad at Minecraft.
okay, but I don't know.
Minecraft's not that hard, you know. You just gotta sleep through the night.
I
That's
mean,
it.
yeah, literally. You sleep through the night, you wake up, and you're chilling in this game. I love the concept of it. I just want to see them go further with it and actually add more content to it, because I'm pretty sure after literally the first 20 minutes of it, it just says this is all the story we have right now. Give the game a like rating kind of thing.
Yeah, I
And I was
definitely
like,
want to
wait,
see
I've
more
played
from
20 minutes of the game. So I just don't think, I think they have the world and like the engine and everything set up, but to me right now it feels more like a tech demo than it feels like a game, which
I'm excited to
is
see
sad.
like I'm excited to see when they add more stuff to it, because obviously 20 minutes is like, okay, yeah, so it's like maybe like a small demo for a game,
It's
which
like
makes sense.
it's like a 2-hour experience as of right now, and I think past that all there is to do is just explore the world, but there's no like objectives, like there's nothing to really progress you in the world. And I found that similar in other games that Xbox has made, like Sea of Thieves, where I love the world and the game design, but there's not that much gameplay and reason to keep playing.
Yeah, like obviously like Hector and I have played Sea of Thieves for like quite a bit. And you know, like we had fun with like the few things that we did, but there's not a lot of reason to be like, okay, well, let's go do that again. There's no
Yeah.
like really like means of progression or like a drive to like, okay, I want to keep playing this.
Yeah, like it's fun while it lasts, but I think it's like Adi said, just something you don't crave to get back online and just start playing. Whereas games like maybe Halo, if that's interesting to you, or anything else like that, or even the new one, the Xbox, or rather Microsoft has announced being Fable in development, coming both for PC and the Series X, which I'm actually stoked because I don't think you guys have known this, but I used to play Fable when I was younger, actually.
Yeah, so feel free to fill me in on this. I'm familiar with Fable. I know that it's an Xbox Series and it had 3 games prior to this, right?
Yeah,
And
I
then that
believe
kind of just
so.
went underground.
I didn't play too much of it, and I don't think I played the original Fable, actually. I think I played Fable 2, if I'm not mistaken. But it's basically just like an action RPG kind of game. And there's a it's hard to explain because I played it when I was younger, so I don't recall too much about it as far as like story wise. But this was back when I was playing like Wizard 101 actively and stuff like that. So it was a while ago, but it did pave the way for a lot of future RPGs. I do know that. And so it's kind of just like a souped up version of Fable. And I think it'll do extremely well, actually, because there was a huge audience for Fable back in the day. And I'm sure a lot of them are going to come back for this new one. I think it's going to be great.
The original Fable for the record is 2004. So
Yeah.
it is an
Oh my
extremely old game now.
Very,
Fable
very
2 was
old.
2008, and then Fable 3 was 2010, and then you know like
If I remember,
any
they
numbered
had,
Fable entries
they
have
had
been,
an anniversary for Fable that
They did.
put on.
they did. That was
Steam.
2014.
2014. So, and that seemed like super like recent. And so
Yeah, that was remastered with HD and everything, so
Yeah.
more of like a newer looking game.
yeah, but this game actually for you guys, you might not know, but it actually got rumored heavily for a couple years now that it was coming out. And now it just got announced, but it really did get rumored for about 2 years pretty heavily. So I think all the Fable fans are going to be super excited for that one. And I'll definitely give it a try if it's on Game Pass, like Audie said. All of the games that we're talking about right now should actually be on Game Pass, regardless of what platform you're playing it on. Or at least for Xbox, definitely. But
Well, that wasn't the only franchise that just got like revived from the dead, because another one was Stalker. And
see, I've
Stalker,
never heard about Stalker.
I
Okay,
haven't
so
either.
so Stalker is the original one was called Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, and it's essentially a game that takes place after the Chernobyl disaster, and you know how life has gone on within that thing and how it's like slowly become like a budding zone of insanity.
Yeah.
And so I find this one strange because Stalker prior to this had 3 games. Shadow of Chernobyl, Clear Sky, and then Call of Pripyat. All of these were released within consecutive years, being 2007, 8, and then 9. And after that, silence. And
He
they
died in Chernobyl.
honestly, I wouldn't be surprised, but
Yeah. Makes
you
sense.
know, Stalker is mainly known for its like world and how things interact with each other, even if you know like you're not specifically involved. And I know like the game has a massive modding community. Like one of the people I watched on YouTube by the name of Lucas Racevic did a video on it, and it was insane how much like time and effort people put into like making this into like more of a breathing world than it already was. So it'll be cool seeing like what Stalker 2 can do. But
Yeah.
you know, like it's
I'm
weird that it
excited
just
to see it.
he's Stalker.
I mean, they did that for a couple games, right? Like a lot of these were smaller ones that were developed by newer studios that Xbox either just got on or they've had for a while. But I think like some great ones from Obsidian and a lot of cool ones directly just from Microsoft themselves coming out. But on the contrary, I guess if you wanted to look kind of towards the new conference that PlayStation had, being State of Play, they've also released a ton of great titles. A few names being like Braid getting kind of like an anniversary edition, Hitman 3 getting some PSVR support, and a ton of other things that we'll just touch bases on. I'm excited.
Yeah, you want to start talking about the State of Play, because we're talking about this in like the timeline, like it happened earlier today, State of Play.
Yeah. So this happened earlier today as of recording, but they opened it up with Crash 4.
That game looks gorgeous.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I'm
It
so
looks-
excited.
It's just
First new
like
Crash game in a while. Oh man.
like I thought the Crash Bandicoot remaster looked good, and then they took that, took it up a level, and then added way more like expressive, like squash and stretch like faces. It just looks great.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I've never been like a huge Crash Bandicoot fan, but I do very much see the appeal in the game, and I think everyone that's loved Crash Bandicoot is not going to be disappointed with this. And I mean, it's Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time is what it's called.
I honestly,
Yeah.
I love that title. I must say, I honestly want to give like the Crash series a shot, just because I've heard they're like fun platformers, but they're also really hard.
I want to play
But-
through the entire Crash series just in a row.
I have
But,
the game on the Switch.
I'll need to steal that off you.
Yes.
And then what they talked about for Crash Bandicoot 4 was they talked about making Crash's sister Coco playable from the start, but they're also making one of the previous antagonists playable, and then the main antagonist is also going to be playable, and they all have like levels designed around for them too, which is like super cool.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I found that interesting. That's new. That's something new that you wouldn't be able to do in like any of the other games before.
No, definitely not. So that's cool that they're kind of pulling that out. I actually didn't know about that, so that's very interesting.
I do
But-
remember. I think they added some like slight new mechanics, like here and there. Just like I think like on a level base. Like I think remember one where like Crash was like on a horizontal wall or something. I don't
That's
remember
interesting.
exactly what.
I mean, I think they've had 2D segments, but what you might be thinking of is inverted mode, where they announced that essentially they teamed up with like a bunch of different artists to make the Crash like the levels replayable, and all these have like different gimmicks with like adding water to level to change the gravity,
yeah. I remember that.
or doing your spin attack will add color to the world, just so you know what's up ahead. And
That's
it's supposed to like
sick.
remix the game.
Yeah, like the entire level looks like without any color, and so when you spin attack, you like color up literally your surroundings to help you see where you're supposed to go.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I'm super stoked about that one, and I mean, I think those extra modes are definitely gonna give the game a lot of replayability.
And then one more thing, the last thing I want to bring up about Crash Bandicoot, and this is just a point that I would like to talk about later, is they said that previously they'd experimented around with, like having Crash in like different outfits, like, for Crash Bandicoot 3 he had like a biker outfit because he had like biking levels and all that. So they've added way more cosmetics to Crash Bandicoot, and one thing that kind of I thought was half cool, half bothered me, and I'll go into this more later, is they mentioned that all of these cosmetics will not be microtransactions.
Why does that bother you?
So let me go find it. To tie into that, I want to talk about Godfall next,
Okay.
which is, they showed off a little bit more of Godfall, which is one of their bigger like PS5 like looter slasher sort of games, and that also mentioned that nothing in Godfall will be like will include microtransactions. And the reason that bothers me is because have we really gotten to the point where saying that a game isn't gonna have microtransactions is a selling point?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think the issue, it's a good thing that they're saying it, but I do think I agree with you that it's gone to the point where it's so bad that they have to emphasize to people that there's not microtransactions, because it just becomes so default in games that a lot of people are looking forward to, and then it's such a like a turn away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it's gone to the
think
point
about
where
all the Star
DLC is
Wars
expected.
games. Right? Those Battlefront games, they flopped because of microtransactions. Or
I mean,
the
Sorry, go ahead.
longevity of it, rather. Like, it did really well, and then people realized the game is literally, like, pay to win.
I mean, I thought a little bit more about the reason why they said it in Crash Bandicoot, because a little bit of a history lesson is after the first 3 Crash games got remastered into one bundle, they also remastered the Crash Racing game that was on the PS1, Crash Team Racing. And, you know, game was great, had no microtransactions at all. And then I think it was a little bit after it launched, they added in the microtransaction market.
They said, actually, on second thought, we need the money. Sorry.
And, like, I mean, they supported the game with like content and new tracks, but like the microtransaction stuff, like post launch, like adding in that ecosystem after launch, it just feels like so scummy, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's kind of scummy, like you said, of them to kind of add that afterwards. And I think maybe they just didn't add it initially so that they jump over that hall of everyone being upset with them, just so that they can add it for the people that are still playing months after.
If they pulled the same thing twice, so many people would be annoyed. It would be insane.
Like,
Yeah.
it's... I don't even know what they could add for microtransactions for Crash 4, but I just hope they don't add anything.
You know, they said the same thing for Crash Team Racing, and then they did.
Yeah, but I think about the first 3 games, I'm just like, where would you add in microtransactions for the first few games?
That's true. I really
Like, other than
don't know.
cosmetics, like I don't get it.
People want money.
True.
Honestly.
Specifically.
And I'm one of
anything.
those people. Please give me money.
One game that I'm really looking forward to, actually. Well, it's interesting. There's 2 that are really, really interesting to me. One, Hitman 3. We've talked about it previously, and I was like, this looks super enticing to me. But the entire trilogy is going to be playable in PSVR, which I think is actually going to be insanely dope.
Yeah, I saw that news and I was just like, that's actually really cool, because like a lot of the Hitman like games that because they rebooted the franchise, right? Still hold up like super well. You know, and like to translate all those games into VR, just like breathe new life into it and give it a different perspective is a really cool idea.
I'm just so interested to see like how it'll play. You know
I was
what I
about
mean?
to say, it's like, I'm hoping they do it right, because they can mess this up. There is a very possibility that
Yeah.
Hitman just doesn't work as well in
Well, okay,
VR.
I don't know. I didn't see specifically. Did they say the entire full game was going to be able to be played, or was it like a rendition of the game?
I don't.
From what
honestly
I remember hearing, what they said is that all 3 games, we're proud to announce that we're bringing VR support to every location in all 3 games.
That's crazy. That is a whole project, and that's going to be huge. I mean, that'll bring a lot of people to PSVR, just like Borderlands VR did, right? Where it's one game that a lot of people love that is getting a VR port, and it's bringing people into the virtual reality like ecosystem, and it's not offered on other platforms, right? Is it only PlayStation VR?
Yeah, as of right now, it is only PlayStation VR, and they did say, like, as a reminder, you can import locations that you own from the previous 2 Hitman games into Hitman 3, essentially putting every single stage in the entire trilogy into one place.
That's sick. I really look forward to that, because I know that it is gonna be exclusive to PSVR, but just like Borderlands, I bet after a year it's gonna be on PC. And so,
but I think if you ask me, I think it's gonna work way better for Hitman than it does Borderlands, just because of the style of play. Because you and I played a little bit of Hitman 2, Hector, and so like the style of play, I feel like will blend itself to like VR very well. It's not like hyper like fast action pace. You have to like look around, take your time, taking the details, and it's like a slower moving game with just as much of the thrill. And I feel like that's gonna lend itself to VR super well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think they've had they've had VR games similar to Hitman previously that is basically like assassin style, kind of just like sneaking behind people kind of games, similar to like both Hitman but also Assassin's Creed. None of them have actually done well, but I think when you attach a franchise behind a title in VR, it gives it a whole new meaning. I think
Because
Borderlands did well just because it was Borderlands.
yeah, and
For
Half-Life
sure.
had the name behind it for Alex.
Yeah.
And then now Hitman 3 is doing the same thing. And for the announcement trailer, I guess I should go over that a little bit into that really fast. It's not a very long trailer. It's about a minute. But it shows Agent 47 walking into like this club bar sort of place. And then it zooms in onto the back of his head and then goes first person. And then it's essentially like the person, like playing the game. It's
Yep.
just like they're looking around at the drinks. They're looking at around like the people in front of them. And then they see like their target walk by, so they follow in behind them. They walk into the bathroom, and then they pull out like the strangling wire, and that's where it like cuts out.
Yep.
But like it all seems like it could like work like really well within the given context.
No, I'm stoked. And I mean, there's actually two different VR games. Star Wars Vader Immortal, which I don't know if you guys know, but it's actually developed by Oculus.
Oh, really?
So that's
actually
why
interesting.
it's been on Oculus Quest even. It was like one of the big Oculus Quest titles to come out a while back, and now it's getting its exclusivity taken away to be on PlayStation.
So this is a game that already exists.
This game is interesting actually because it's similar to Hitman where it's episodes. So there's episode 1 and 2 that have already came out for Vader Immortal, and they're basically releasing them as like $10 episodes sequentially.
Oh, so that's how they're doing it for VR.
Yeah. Or at least for that style of
Okay, yeah.
game. It's very uncommon for VR titles to do that, but I think it's a good way to basically not sell something for super cheap without like having basically they can get away with not having any gameplay in the game besides just very fun like lightsaber flaunting and stuff,
And
because
worse,
Yeah.
there's not much gameplay to the game besides that, and then a couple story, but it's basically like a movie. It's like a 2-hour experience.
I mean,
Okay.
the state of play announcement mentioned that all 3 episodes will be available on August 25th. So it seems like the full release of this will just become the PSVR.
Yeah. So I'm excited that it is.
I
getting
think it
ported.
looked really good, honestly, from what I saw of it. I think it'd be a cool experience just to be able to like do this kind of stuff in VR, like use the Force and bring a lightsaber to you, and then have actual battles with it.
Yeah. No, it's dope, and I mean, I've been tempted to pick it up on the Quest, and I don't even like Star Wars, so it's like just the exciting like the lightsaber, regardless if you like Star Wars or not, I think is always super intriguing to people. It's just such a cool like weapon, you know? And
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I think
Yeah.
I think it fits VR perfectly, and I think they did that section right. But a lot of people were upset with how short it is. But given that it's only $10 and it's also several episodes, that's kind of how they get away with making it that short of an experience.
Yeah, it's kind of understandable as to how they're doing it.
Yeah. But a
Okay.
huge. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you're excited for Hitman being on the PSVR, let me tell you the game that I saw that I was excited for was a game called The Pathless, which is coming to PS5. Now, it is worth mentioning that this is a game that's also confirmed to be coming out on the Epic Games Store, but it's a open world game where you're a hunter and you work with this eagle, and you essentially need to be like generic plot, bring light back to the land that's like covered in darkness. But what really like drew my eyes to it was they showed quite a bit of gameplay for this one, and they seem to focus on fluidity.
Yeah,
The
it looked
movement.
The
interesting.
movement looks so smooth.
To me at least, based off of how the trailer looked, it almost looks like you're like on a specific like movement path, but at the same time like you have the abilities and
To
like
move
normal
around.
things that you would do in like an open world game. So
I
it's
don't think Avi
weird.
mentioned it, but your main weapon is a bow for it, and so you use that to shoot at these like crystals that are around as you move around, and then hitting them like refreshes like your movement speed, and you like gain bursts of speed off of them, and you can even
It's
fly with your eagle.
as odd as it sounded, it kind of gives me like Spider-Man PS4 vibes, where it's all about keeping that like fluid movement going, and I absolutely adore that in games. And
Yeah.
it feels like this is gonna give us more of that, along with like combat, puzzle solving, maintaining your eagle. Like this is definitely a game I'm gonna keep my eye out for more, because I didn't know it existed prior to this. But looking at this definitely made me think like, okay, this looks cool. I want to play this.
Yeah, no, I think the art style is phenomenal, and I think it's definitely gonna do pretty well. One game that I know Hitarth is definitely stoked for, Splunky
yes,
2.
sir.
I don't know if
Yes,
you. I'll let you
sir.
talk about it. I'll let you take it away.
Oh, I have so much I can say about this. So, we've already known about this. They've already teased this before and shown. They haven't really shown like too much gameplay, only like minor stuff way back when they first mentioned this. But this is like the biggest gameplay trailer I've seen for the game. Because as they describe the game, they basically show clips of the different gameplay from the different levels in the game.
Okay,
One
so
of the
let me ask you.
biggest things. Go
Sorry,
for
go
it.
ahead.
Go for it. No.
Let me ask you, as a person who's pretty much played Spelunky to death, how many like new things do you notice compared to the first one?
Okay, so the looks for the game has a whole like graphic update. You still have that whole like cave explorer vibe, and it's not like realistic to any degree, but it looks a lot better.
So just a graphical overhaul for
Mhm.
that one.
Yeah, like huge. They've changed the look of a lot of certain things, but some enemies like are still very obvious. Some enemies are still the same. You know what they are and how they look. They changed the look of some of the traps, which also will be interesting because now you don't know what the traps look like anymore. They added new traps. They added, I think there's new characters, and they changed up how the characters worked. Because initially in the first game, you'd go through the different like dungeons levels, and if you found a new character, you just unlock them, and they'd play with you for a while as a companion in that run. But if they die, they die, and then you can choose to play as that character instead. But how I saw they did it for this game is when you unlock characters, you like make like an entire like village of people
That's
as you unlock
Yeah,
more
that's what they
characters.
showed
Well,
off.
let's talk
menu
about
area.
like the big thing that I see. Online multiplayer.
Online multiplayer. So the first game didn't have
Hector focusing on
multiplayer.
online multiplayer?
I
Who
know,
would've guessed?
honestly.
Hey,
The
I
first
think that's
game
big for the
only
game.
had local. Hey, it's the biggest thing for this game, honestly. Other than the graphic update and just new content,
Yeah.
having online multiplayer be built in is huge for Spelunky because people were already doing online with the first game through like a community mod that they made called Frozelunky, I believe. And so people would use that to be able to connect with other Spelunky and be able to play together. Or people would use like Hamachi and Direct Connect, or even now Parsec at this point, and just play off of one game because it had a local multiplayer aspect, but it was never online.
It's like Overcooked, right? Overcooked
Mhm.
1 versus 2. People
Yeah.
basically played on Parsec together, but then when they made 2 and it was multiplayer, then people were like, all right, dope. So
Yeah.
it does inherently incentivize buying multiple copies of games.
One thing I do like about them going over Spelunky 2, and this is just like an outsider looking in sort of thing, is throughout the entire trailer, the person who made the game is speaking over it, and he's essentially talking about like, as he's making this game, how there's like, he's added like a bunch of different stuff, and the thing that he's most excited for is like hearing the player experiences of how people are gonna like be going through this game, and like looking forward to see how players can break the game, which I thought was a really funny point to mention.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's absolutely gonna happen. I know Spelunky has an absurd like community, and especially speedrunning community. I know it's a massive speedrunning game.
Oh yeah, people have optimized this game so much, from RNG to just everything. It's kind of crazy.
I will say though, compared to like, because I've watched you speedrun the first Spelunky a bunch, this looks way more varied, like visually.
There's like whole new paths you can take. One of the newer things they added at the end of a level is the idea of branching paths. So there's not just one set exit for the level. There's actually multiple you could take, and that also depends on like where you go. I don't know how exactly that works, but it looked like they had the same areas from like the beginning area. They had like an ice area, they had a jungle area, and then they had like a temple area, which in the first game would be theoretically the final boss area of the game.
Yeah, I'm stoked for that. I mean, like, that getting a visual overhaul, and other games in the Xbox One getting visual overhaul. One that's surprising to me that actually got announced here, which is a game that I actually picked up a long time ago on the PC, was Braid, which I would have thought that is very up your alley, Hitarth. For those of you that don't know, it's basically a 2D platformer where there's like the caveat of you can slow down time in like reverse time.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was actually really interested in it.
Yeah, so that game literally came out like, I played it probably in like 2012, so I don't know if it came around then or before then, but it's been out for a while. And so they're basically making an anniversary edition, which is just a visual and musical overhaul. But I do want to give that game another try. I don't think I would be picking it up, but I think it will push me to maybe play it again, the original.
I might be picking it up. They showed a side by side of like the graphic change and everything, and I think
it did get a very, very good facelift. But you know what game I'm excited for? Bugsnat. No, I'm just kidding.
Temtem.
Yeah, that's true. Temtem is coming to the PS5. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I own the game, but I haven't gotten much into it.
I would say you're the only one here out of us who've played it.
It's a Pokemon competitor, and it's like focuses more on like the competitive side of things. Like it does have like a main story. I tried it. I personally couldn't get like into it, but it's cool. That's cool to see that it's coming to other platforms, because you know it was like a passion indie project that started it.
I'm glad it's growing this much. Honestly. Yeah.
Well, I guess going off of kind of Pokemon, and just I guess we can tie that back into our last point being Nintendo. What do you guys think? Who cares? Really? Who cares?
Dude, more like Nintendo.
Listen.
Don't.
Okay. Nintendo pulling the weirdest strategy I have ever seen them do in a while, being having one of the, in my opinion, worst Nintendo Directs, followed by a series of tweets about phenomenal titles that could have been announced in that Direct, such as Pikmin 3.
Pikmin 3!
Bro, you call this a strategy? I call this a failure.
I call it disastrous, but I mean,
yeah.
I think Nintendo might actually have something to counteract that, because they actually leaked the numbers for their like basically over the last couple months, or few months rather, with this whole quarantine, they had a boost of 428% profit because of quarantine.
They really said, "Who cares? We're making money. Deal with it."
That's what I said.
Look at this. They're flexing, man.
I don't know, dude. Nintendo, I think, is in the boat, and I could be wrong on this. How I see it is, they are very comfortable right now in a position where they know that they don't have to do what PlayStation and Xbox are doing, right? Xbox, PlayStation, they need to push this next gen because they're competing against each other. Nintendo has never been competing against them, really. So if they stay in their own lane, they let this whole wave of new next gen consoles and games pass through, they're chilling. They have plenty of money from the quarantine because people are trying to play Nintendo games, even though, I mean, they haven't released any recent ones.
I remember seeing this really, really depressing statistic where Animal Crossing New Horizons came out March, has sold 22.4 million copies.
Oh my god.
And the depressing statistic is that's more than the entire Metroid franchise.
That's actually really funny.
Oh my god.
What about Metroid 4?
Yeah, that'll exist, but
Nintendo is showing its ego off more than Hector does in an FPS game.
Buddy. I think Nintendo, whatever marketing strategy they have, I'm sure
lack
it
thereof.
works. But I just think from a consumer standpoint and someone that likes watching Nintendo release great games throughout a year, I just think it's awfully strange. I don't know necessarily if it's bad. I just don't think it's Nintendo.
I just find it peculiar because Nintendo's one of the companies that's pretty good about like posting stuff throughout the entire year, and then
Yeah.
again we've talked about this to death, so I'll just talk about like July onwards because they announced Paper Mario Origami King in just like its own standoff trailer that was just uploaded one day, and then the exact same thing happened with the Pikmin 3 Deluxe announcement. And I'm incredibly excited for Pikmin 3. I'm absolutely going to be picking that up the second it comes out. But where's Pikmin 4? Or like ports of Pikmin 1 or 2. And I'm not complaining. I'm absolutely not complaining. I'm more than happy that Pikmin's finally getting some room to breathe.
Yeah, I don't know.
On the Switch. And I think I did find a reason why they dropped it the way that they did is because I believe the day that they dropped it was the 7th anniversary of Pikmin 3 coming out.
And then Audie sent that to me, and then I said, "What about the 18th anniversary of Mario Sunshine?" Like,
That's
I
okay.
remember
I don't know, dude.
I remember you guys posting stuff about like the Mario anniversary in our Twitter chats.
Those
and then,
were
like,
all fake, but
yeah,
Those
fake
were all
ones.
fake, and it was essentially a meme of somebody saying, in the case somebody needs to look at this is what the worst case scenario could be. And it's for Mario's 35th anniversary. They only announced the Super Mario All-Stars Collection, which was an SNES title that was a compilation of all the early Mario like 2D games being posted as like the virtual console.
the sad part is, it like literally looked like something Nintendo would do. Like, and then someone would reply and they're like, "Nah, this is what it is," and it was like the 3D All Stars thing we were talking about last
which is something
show.
that I would love. I believe like I'm not complaining. Like I do find it bizarre and peculiar what they're doing, but I'm not worried in the grand scheme of things. I know Nintendo will pull out something because I have confidence in that company. Please don't prove me wrong.
The only the only thing I'm worried about is that this
Quote 'em
becoming like the norm for Nintendo. And
Yeah.
honestly, I don't like it because it's just different than how they've always done stuff. Like it's weird
This is my prediction.
doing that.
I really do think they're only doing this because they know that PlayStation and Xbox are gonna be very competitive right now because of the new launches. And so I think they're taking a step back. They're letting their game developers and themselves even take a rest, kind of stay low, release really, really quality titles, but super on the low, and just kind of ride the wave, I would say. Make
I can
that
see
money, and then just right at the start of next year, or like announcing it really late this year, just going full guns blazing with a ton of really good titles, and then alongside that announcing a new Switch. That's what I see.
Can I say something on the note of new consoles really fast though?
Mhm.
I find it absolutely adorable that PlayStation and Microsoft both held conferences, and they both announced like PS5 games and Xbox like next generation. I don't remember the title at this point. I give up on it. Are going to be
Xbox
coming out.
Series X.
Yeah, that thing. Are going to be coming out holiday 2020. So we know it's going to be out by the end of this year. It is August. We still don't have a release date on these consoles, and I don't know why they're. At this point, I'm half expecting them to go. Oh, by the way, it's out right now. Like you could have walked into Walmart earlier and bought it, you fool.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see what the price is, what the release date is, but I guess that's basically what the two conferences were this time around. I'd like to see more from Nintendo, but overall, I think great showings from both Sony and Xbox.
All I think about when Audie says holiday 2020. So we're releasing it on Christmas.
Christmas midnight. All right, I think that's all the time we have today, right?
Yep, that'll be it.
All right. Here's hoping that in the next 2 weeks something will happen that'll make Hector happy. He has made a prediction for a Nintendo like based direct thing, or maybe like another partner showcase happening sometime this month. So here's hoping the next time we all talk, Hector will be a happier man.
Let's hope. Well,
Thank you all for listening. We'll see you guys next time. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask. See you later.
take it easy.
Peace, guys.